A second-hand camera was supposed to be nothing more than a bargain. That's what Daniel Mercer told himself when he bought it from a small pawn shop tucked between a laundromat and a shuttered bookstore. The owner barely looked up while wrapping it in newspaper like it was just another object passing through forgotten hands. Daniel didn't think much of it either. He used it for street photography, for empty city corners, for moments people didn't notice they were part of. It started a week later. When he was sorting through photos at night, something made him pause. In one image taken outside a train station, there was a woman standing just behind a group of commuters. She wasn't posing. She wasn't even aware of the camera. But she looked too present, not like a stranger accidentally caught in the frame, like someone meant to be there. Daniel zoomed in, something in his chest tightened. He didn't know her, but the feeling was not unfamiliar. He kept scrolling. More photos, different days, different streets, and there she was again, in the background of a cafe shot, walking across a crosswalk in another, standing near a bookstore entrance in one more, always slightly different angles, always unposed, always real, always her. A pattern shouldn't feel like memory, but it did. Her face stayed with him the entire night. The next morning, he told himself it was coincidence. Cities were dense. People overlapped. Cameras captured randomness. That was all it was, but that explanation didn't survive the second day, because she appeared again, and again, and again. Every batch of photos had her, never the center, always the edge, like she lived just outside the focus of his life. By the end of the week, Daniel stopped taking new photos. He went back through older files, years of work, folders he hadn't opened in a long time, and then it became worse. Wasn't just recent. She was in older photos too. Photos he took before buying the camera, before he even remembered seeing her anywhere. That was the moment. The logic in his mind started breaking apart. He searched the metadata, dates, locations, everything, aligned with places he had been alone. No record of her being there. No explanation, just her presence embedded in his. History, like a shadow that refused to admit when it started. He took the camera to a repair shop, asking if there could be a fault in memory storage or digital corruption. The technician barely looked up. "No issue with the device," he said. "It just stores what you capture." That answer didn't help, because Daniel was no longer sure what he had captured or what had been there before him. That night he printed the clearest image he had of her. She was standing outside a small flower shop looking down at something in her hand. The expression on her face wasn't smiling exactly. It was softer than that, like someone remembering something instead of experiencing it. He stared at it longer than he meant to. Then he did something he didn't fully understand. He went back to the flower shop. It still existed. Same corner, same faded sign. Same bell above the door that rang too sharply when he entered. The florist looked up. "You're looking for someone?" the man asked. Daniel hesitated, then showed the photo. The florist studied it for a moment. Then his expression shifted slightly. "I remember her," he said. That sentence should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like falling. "She used to come here often," the florist continued. "Bought the same thing every time." "What did she buy?" Daniel asked. The man paused. "Nothing expensive. Just one white rose." A silence stretched between them. Daniel asked the question he didn't know he was building toward. "Do you know where she is now?" The florist shook his head slowly. "Haven't seen her in years. Years." That word landed heavier than expected, because Daniel now realized something strange. All the photos were recent, but the feeling they carried was not. He left the shop without fully understanding why his steps felt heavier than before. That night, he couldn't sleep. He laid the printed photo on his desk and studied it under dim light. The more he looked at her, the more unfamiliar familiarity became. It wasn't attraction. It wasn't curiosity. It was recognition trying to form something it couldn't complete. Over the next few days, Daniel started retracing the places from the photos: the cafe, the train station, the bookstore corner. He stood where the images had been taken, trying to understand how someone could exist so consistently in his work without ever crossing into his awareness in real life. At the third location, the bookstore, something changed. A woman entered. For a moment, everything inside him paused. It was her, not from the photos as an idea, from the photos as a presence. She walked past him without noticing, went straight to the counter, asked for a book he couldn't hear clearly. Daniel didn't move at first. Then he did something reckless. He followed her outside. "Excuse me," he said. She turned, and for the first time, the world stopped behaving like coincidence, because she looked at him like she had seen him before, but couldn't remember where. "Yes," she asked carefully. Daniel hesitated. "I think I know you," he said. A strange expression crossed her face. Not fear, not recognition either. Something more uncertain. "I don't think we've met," she said. He pulled out one of the printed photos. Her eyes dropped to it, then something subtle shifted in her expression. "I don't remember this," she said quietly. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Because over the next few meetings, she agreed to talk. Not because she believed him, but because something about the photos disturbed her enough to stay. Her name was Elena Hart. She had no memory of ever meeting Daniel Mercer. She did remember something else. The places in the photos were familiar, in a way she couldn't explain, as if she had lived moments there she couldn't fully access anymore. That was when Daniel suggested something. Simple. Let's go through them together. They started visiting locations. At first, nothing happened. Then, small inconsistencies began to appear. See, cafe that had changed its interior layout, a bench that no longer existed, a mural that had been painted. Over, Elena started writing everything down, and then she stopped, in front of the flower shop. Her hand tightened. "Slightly. I've been here before," she said. Daniel nodded. "I know." She turned to him. "No, I mean, really been here." The florist recognized her immediately. "You're back," he said. Elena froze. Daniel watched her expression change in real time. Not fear, but collision, memory trying to assemble itself. Incorrectly, the florist continued gently. "One white rose." Every time, Elena shook her head. "I don't remember that." But her voice didn't sound sure. It sounded defensive, like something inside her was resisting the idea of being known by details she couldn't retrieve. That night, everything fractured. She called Daniel. "I think something is wrong with me," she said. They met, sat on a bench near the river, and for the first time, she told him what she did remember, a relationship she had once been in, a man she had loved, a sudden accident years ago that left gaps in her memory she never fully recovered from. She had moved cities afterward, changed routines, avoided anything that felt familiar. Daniel listened quietly. Then, he said something that didn't fit at first. "I think I was that man." Silence. She looked at him like he had spoken in another language. "That's not possible," she said. But even as she said it, her voice trembled slightly, because something about him did not feel new. It felt interrupted. The truth didn't arrive all at once. It arrived in fragments, photos, aligning with partial memory. The florist confirming past visits. Places, triggering emotional reactions she couldn't explain. And Daniel remembering. Something he had buried so deep it no longer had shape until now. The accident hadn't just damaged her memory. It had fractured both their timelines. He had survived. It with her, but she had left afterward, unable to carry what she lost. And he had stayed in the same city, unknowingly taking photographs of the life they had once shared but no longer fully. existed in her mind. The camera hadn't created her. It had been recording what remained between them. When everything finally settled, there was no dramatic reunion of perfect memory, just fragments that slowly began to align. She didn't remember everything, but she remembered enough, and Daniel didn't force the rest, because what mattered wasn't recovery of the past. It was the fact that they were standing in the same present again. One evening, she looked at him and said quietly, "So all those photos, I was really there." Daniel nodded. "Yes." A pause. Then she asked, "Did I look happy?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Yes," he said. "You did." And for the first time she believed something she couldn't fully remember, but could finally feel. And that was enough.